We're 2 weeks from camp. Crazy great. How do you look at the safety position? What would you say? What grade, what generic grade would you give it? No playmakers at safety. A C grade? No, James, it's not as bad as you think. If you notice, I started with the weaknesses in the position rooms. I went D tackle, linebacker. We went right up the heart of the defense here. Average maybe a B, C plus. You guys are kind of where I'm at. I don't think B, but I think you're B minus, C plus. That's kind of where I'm at. Okay, here. Let's start with Reed Blankenship. And I want to tell you guys what I did over the weekend. I talked to an NFL scout. Okay, I'll tell you. I talked to Kevin Colbert, who's now an advisor. He's an advisor for the Steelers. He's no longer the general manager. And I asked him to give his assessment. And I put my spin on him. And so I took what he said about the Eagles safeties. And this is what we both came to an agreement. You know this. Kevin Colbert's been on this program numerous times. It's not something we've made up. When he was GM of the Steelers, he comes on this program numerous times. So this is kind of what we said about your players. And it was better than I thought. Okay? Reed Blankenship. Here's the takeaways that both Kevin Colbert and myself had with him. The dude can play the run. He can play the run. He's a formidable tackler. If you watch him on tape a little bit, he's a tackler. He can hit. Okay? And you know what else too? He's not confused on multiple schemes when you're doing crossing routes in the secondary. Like what that means is Reed Blankenship doesn't really bite on he doesn't bite on the decoy. See, what a lot of teams will do is throw decoys at you. He's pretty smart back there, actually. Okay? He's pretty good back there. He's a free safety. And he doesn't have false steps. So he's not fooled a lot. That's a key, playing that position. He's not the most athletic guy, though. And his speed is not the best. I would give it average for playing safety. He's not the most athletic guy, and he's not the fastest guy. And that's why he can't bite on false steps, and he can't bite on decoy. He's got to be precise, and he does. Okay? So he's not the most athletic guy. And again, the speed factor, sometimes he gets caught chasing. Okay? Look, he's not a bad player. If you put some of the free safeties out there and go, is he bad? You can't say yes, because that's not fair. Okay? And if I'm not mistaken, Tone, correct me if I'm wrong, this guy wasn't drafted. Reed Blankenship wasn't drafted. Has to be because of the athleticism, and probably because he didn't test well at the combines, because he didn't have speed, and he's not the most athletic guy. He's an undrafted guy, an absolute phenomenal grand slam by Howie having him, because that's a bad move. He can play. He can play in the NFL. Okay? And he's a starter in the NFL, and he was undrafted. Damn good evaluation by Howie. You know, I'll tell you something. TJ Edwards and this guy right here, he's kind of like the TJ Edwards of the safety position. And he's getting better. Give him more reps. Let's see what he does. But he's got to improve his speed. I don't know you can do that. But, he's got to work on his athleticism, picking his feet up a little more. But he's not a bad player. If you listen to the other general managers in the league talk about him, they'll call this a miss, that they missed him because he was undrafted. Anytime you get an undrafted guy starting in your group and you're the second best team in the National Football League and you're one of the favorites to win the Super Bowl, there's a problem in your recruiting room, especially in a position like this, that people, now again, is he your traditional safety that's played in Philly? No, but in this scheme that they keep under everything underneath, I don't think he's a detriment back there. That's right, Quan. That's probably he's a pro. He's a solid player back there. He's okay. Look, how about this? I am totally okay with him back there. Yeah, he lacks speed, but he's a heady player, a really strong tackler, to say the least. He was fair when he had to hold down when CJ was. Dude, I'm telling you, he's a good player. He's better than I thought. And his reputation around the league is higher than you think. I'll tell you this. The NFL has a higher opinion of Reed Blankenship than the media does and the fans in Philly. Okay? Because I had the same opinion you had of him. I totally had the same opinion you had. I was like, well, he's not very athletic and he's not fast. And you know what? You know what Kevin Colbert said? He goes, yeah, but those were the same things they said about Cam Chancellor when he came out. Said he wasn't very quick, but he was a hitter and he was a tackler and he was headsy. I'm not comparing him to the type of player Cam Chancellor was, because to me, Cam Chancellor was an awesome player. I think he was a 4th or 5th round draft choice. Carroll got him in the middle rounds. Okay? That was a great sign. A great sign by Seattle. That's another one of the pieces that Pete brought in. That whole Legion of Boom was built on guys who weren't first-round draft choices. Michael Bennett, Cam Chancellor, all them guys, man, that were brought in. He ended up finding in latter rounds or made trades for. So he's a contact player. And better than get this, the evaluation of him is better than I thought. Terrell Edmunds. Strong safety. Kevin Colbert worked with him. That's why we talked to him. Interesting opinion of him in Pittsburgh. The room was split on him, on letting him go. I want to tell you this. I didn't know this until I talked to Kevin. Half the room didn't want him to go. The other half did. And Tomlin left it up to the coaches and personnel people. And by a razor-thin margin, they moved on from him. So it wasn't like this in Pittsburgh. Let's just get the hell away from this guy. And let's get out from under him. I thought it was more that. It wasn't. Okay? It was not. So it was a pretty close call to bring him back. You see, in Pittsburgh, they don't like letting guys go. They believe in player development. They don't like, when they put all their time and money into a guy, that's not a place that they want to just end up getting rid of you. So Kevin said that it was pretty close on how everybody looked at him. Here's Kevin's take on him. Tell me what you think. The kid's athletic. He can run. He might be more athletic than Gardner Johnson. Okay? He might be more. Remember something about Gardner Johnson, though. Gardner Johnson was learning a new position. So the upside to him, and Barrett Brooks said this months ago, you might have an upgrade here. I thought it was a dumb take. I don't know if he's wrong now. Kid can run. Fast as hell. Okay. Truly a great athlete. He improved in coverage a little a year ago. The problem that they had with him was he could get lost. He could get lost in crossing routes, and he could get lost out there sometimes. And when you're in the AFC and you got so many of those quarterbacks running those coverage, those scheme, and they're running crossing routes, you can't get lost out there. So he gets lost in coverage a bit. I would say this, and here's something else that Kevin said. With a guy like Edmunds, they used to have a really complex defensive scheme. Like when you came into the huddle, it would be like this. It would be like Buccaneer G, banjo coverage, safety blitz, X stunt with a high low. And sometimes he can't process that. So they simplified it. If Sean Desai and he is going to play, don't make it too hard back there. You got a lot of new faces back there. Don't make it. Kevin Colbert was the general manager for 15, 16, maybe 20 years in Pittsburgh. And he's now the consultant in Pittsburgh. Don't make it too encumbersome for him. Let him play. Okay? Let Edmunds play. If you complicate it, you're going to run into problems with him. Okay? I'm not saying he's dumb, but a guy like that, you got to go let him play. Let him play. You know, sometimes simplifying defenses and like John Gruden's offensive playbook to me is atrocious. Dude, just go out there and make plays. Like, I would never want John Gruden coaching Patrick Mahomes. And Andy Reid knows that. Okay? He was lost like our corners in the Super Bowl. Well, here, this is a safety position, though. It's easy when you got Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes to get lost, especially when you got a D coordinator that's not putting you in a position to win, weapon. Okay? Your D coordinator was out house hunting, and he was out looking for furniture instead of preparing for Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. And I don't care what anybody says. I'll put that out there. That guy was house hunting. And Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes were preparing for the Eagle corners. And it showed in the second half. Okay? He can get confused a bit. Now, Terrell Edmunds playing in that position of strong safety now. How do I feel about it? Better. Now, again, these guys all have to play as a cohesive unit. Okay? They got to play together here, but he's not going to be the cliff fall that I thought it was going to be from Gardner Johnson. Looking at this room is going to bring us to a topic for Quan here. Okay? Here in a minute. Probably at the top of the hour. I wrote Sidney Brown here. This is what I wrote. And I talked to Lovie Smith about him. Kid's got a shot to be a 3-down free safety. Quickness. Gets to the ball. You know, I'll tell you something about that secondary in Illinois. All three of those guys got drafted back there. Witherspoon was a hell of a football player, one of my favorite players in the draft. I mean, they got some ball players back there, and they got this kid in the third round, a very premium pick. Got a nose for the ball. A great athlete. Somebody told me in the state of Florida, he was a 4x100 champion and was one of the fastest guys in Florida. So he's a track athlete, which means he's got great quickness. And he's a superior athlete. So, I mean, Sidney Brown's got a shot to be a 3-down safety back there. Could I see him beating Edmunds or Blankenship out? There's definitely going to be a 3-person rotation that's going to be in that conversation. Okay? There's definitely going to be a 3-person rotation. So I like, by the way, I liked it. Of all the players that they drafted this past season, he's 1-2 along with those first 2 rounders, first rounders. I think could really play an awful lot and be an impact player. I like him a lot. Kayvon Wallace, I think he's solid. He hasn't wowed me. I think he's going to be needed on special teams. Something like that. But to be in a rotation with those other 3, I don't think unless there's injury. So Kayvon Wallace at strong safety, I don't know. Maybe he needs reps though. He's a solid turd. Maybe he needs reps. I don't know. But so far with him, I really haven't seen anything where it makes me go like this. Yeah, he's an integral part of what they're going to do at safety. So overall, the safety position, I asked Kevin Colbert his opinion. He goes, inexperienced, new faces, don't complicate, new coordinator. There's a lot of blinking lights here, especially at the heart of the defense. And you land here at the safety position. They're talented enough. Okay? They're talented enough. But give them reps. You see, I think they need one really big star player, linebacker or safety. Now, could Brown turn out to be a star player? Yes. Personally, I think the weight of the defense is on Dean. If Dean doesn't show up in the first month of the season, the whole house of cards falls in. He's got to be great because he's the quarterback. It would be like Jalen Hurts not playing well. He's got to be. Okay? And Quan, that's why we kind of started it out where Howie was in free agency. Who would help the team out more? Budda Baker or Devin White? Buddha's going to command $20 million. Nobody's going to pay a safety $20 million, especially after what we saw in this last free agency market. Nobody. What did the kid Bates get from Atlanta? That's the high end, right? The kid from Cincinnati got a ton of money going down to Atlanta. But the rest of them, I mean, Gardner Johnson, I think he was very shocked at what the market was. And the market wasn't really – nobody's doing a Jamal Adams deal where you're going to pay a safety $20 million. That was a one of. How many first-round draft choices, too, did Seattle have to give up to get Jamal Adams from the Jets? 3 ones or something like that and pay him 20? That's not going to work, man. Nobody's going to give Baker $20 million. I don't give a shit what you think because that position's not commanding it. Now, do I think Devin White could get $20 million from somebody next year in the open season after free agency, March 17th of 2024? If you gave Roquan Smith that money, I think you could probably give it to him. He's a 25-year-old kid, captain of a Super Bowl defensive football team, and he's good. So could he command that? He probably will command that. Bates got 16. That's probably, in my opinion, Mateo, the high end. But here, ask yourself this. Would Howie spend that kind of money on a safety and linebacker? Probably not. Okay? But if I had to spend my money, I'm not going to spend my money on a safety. I'm going to spend it at corner. And if I could get a linebacker like White at 11.7 for 1 year and prorate it out for the rest of the year, I mean, hey, I would even make this deal. How about doing it this way, Tone? You go to the Buccaneers and say, you pick up 50% of the contract this year. We'll give you the 32nd pick in the draft. And it'll be contingent on what he does in free agency. And get this, if he goes to free agency The following year, you get a compensation pick from them. Remember, they're protected now for these one-year deals now and compensation picks. You'll probably get a second or third rounder if White goes into free agency. Think of that. You get if White becomes a free agent, you make the move after 5 weeks into the season. The Bucs are 2-5 after 7 games. You tell the Bucs to pick up like the Quinn deal. You send a first round 32nd pick. That guy helps you win a Super Bowl. And if you're not able to re-sign him, you get a second round draft choice from him. You're not going to be high and dry if that guy goes into free agency and signs with somebody else. Okay? You're not. You're not high and dry any longer. You don't lose anything. Get this. So you pick up a second round pick. And you know whose second round pick you pick up? You pick up the Bucs' second round pick on a compensation pick on where they finish. So it'll be a high second. Think about it, Tone. That second round pick at 25 could actually be a more valuable pick than the 32nd pick in the draft if you give it up for White this year in 11 point. He's worth 11.7 and have the Bucs pick up some of the contract. Hey, that's the compensation. You pick up 30% of the contract. We'll give you the 32nd pick. You give us Devin White. You put him right in the middle of your defense, and you go on the rest of the year. See, the Buccaneers, in my opinion, are the team to watch. That's a team that's got like Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and other dudes on that ball team. You're probably not going to get rid of the left tackle because those things don't grow on trees. Okay? Draft Trotter next year. Callie, why would you draft Trotter when you could draft a guy who was the captain of a defensive football team that's 25 years old? Well, you want to draft Trotter because his dad played there? That's not a reason to draft him. I want sure things. Draft choices are not sure things. Haven't you learned that? Guys who play in the league and young. Like, get this. You know what made that deal with A.J. Brown so preposterous by Tennessee and why it cost that GM his job? You traded a 24-year-old wide receiver away that you didn't utilize in Tennessee properly, and you traded him away for $5 million. Not only did he live up to his total potential that he had in Philadelphia, that you never delivered, and he's under 25 years old. That's an absurd move. You get rid of wide receivers at 30, not 24. Not 24. You don't give any player away that's got great upside at 24. You just, like, that would be like getting rid of Jamar Chase in Cincinnati. Well, you know, Chase is going to cost us a boatload of money, so we're just going to move him now. Dude, you're trying to acquire great players around Burrow. And that was the rub in Houston when they got rid of Hopkins for Watson. Watson was like, what are we doing here? You're not building a championship football team. Okay? It's not a championship mentality. For some reason, they've changed that now. They've changed that in Houston. And they pushed, but remember something. They push all their chips in on C.J. Stroud and Willie Anderson. Yeah, well, they're on rookie contracts. It's cheaper. It's cheaper. Terrible deal, Dan. Highest pick any team ever gets. It's a third rounder. You're right, Paul. Okay? It's a third rounder. Paul, third rounder. Okay? I'll take the third rounder. It's better than no rounder. And Paul, so the stuff you have right now at linebacker, it's the most troubling position on your team. And it will affect the guys playing D-tackle if he doesn't perform well. Okay? White is a more impactful player. Devin White would be more impactful. No, I can't say than Devin Cook. Okay, Dalvin Cook. He wouldn't be. Dalvin Cook in the Eagle offense would be unstoppable. Would be completely unstoppable. Okay? Twiz, I would say this. The safety position needs reps. And you're not going to get that in exhibition football. D-tackle needs reps, and the linebackers need reps. So you're here. This is all I'll say about your defense. And we're going to ask a question at the top of the hour. Okay? You feel comfortable not having an exhibition season and playing any of your players in the exhibition games, knowing full well that every one of those positions that we went over the last 3 days, Thursday, Friday, and today, totally needs reps. You feel comfortable with no reps and walking around with helmets and shorts that when you line up against New England, you're going to be ready to go. Not practicing game tempo, even nothing. You think you're going to be with controlled scrimmages. You see the difference that you had last year? Your linebacker position had Kaiser White, who played in the NFL, had TJ Edwards, who played in the NFL, had Gardner Johnson, who played in the NFL, had Epps, who played in the NFL, had Javon Hargrave, who played in the NFL, had Adama Sue, who played in the NFL, had Linval Joseph, who played in the NFL. You don't have that affordability this year. You don't. Jalen Carter never played a snap. Jordan Davis, limited snaps. Nakobe Dean, limited snaps. Sidney Brown, no snaps. Reed Blankenship, kind of up and down. Not a horrible player. See, Ben goes so. He doesn't think experience matters. He just thinks you can plug and play. Just put a dude in and he'll go line him up. And you guys tried that with your superstar team back in, what was it, 2012 was it, Tone? Your all-star team? Last year it worked. So you're one for one. You're 1 for 1. The Vince Young team, that team, it failed. Last year's team was a grand slam. Complete grand slam. I have faith in Sean Desai. Well, again, of course you have blind faith. You have to. Because that's all you're going on is blind faith. You have no facts. It's blind faith. Absolutely. It's okay. It's okay to have positive mental attitudes towards people that you think deserve an opportunity to be in this position. There's a reason that Sean, by the way, it's not a rip. Sean Desai has deserved an opportunity to be put in this position, and I hear nothing but great things about him. I actually like to hire. Pete Carroll raved about him. He's insightful. He understands defensive schemes and coverages. I have no problem with it. Okay? Hey, you should have your faith. So Quan gets his topic at the top of the hour. We come back out of the timeout here. And we'll hit on it. Hit the like button. Gary Cobb, bottom of the hour, 4:30 Eastern. Don't forget Bobby Valentine in the third hour, 5:30. Please hit the like button. Hour 2, keep it here on the National Football.